Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are jumping into just a massive biological thought experiment, one that really forces you to question the very foundation of human design.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about our arms, two of them,
A pair?
a perfect symmetrical pair that just it defines how we interact with the entire world. We use them for everything, for precision, for power, for building.
For hugging, for cradling.
Yeah.
It's this perfect, elegant balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our whole world is built around this bimanual dexterity.
It really is.
From, threading a needle to operating some huge piece of machinery. Symmetry it's built into every tool, every building.
Exactly. But what if that elegant balance was just suddenly completely disrupted?
Yeah, okay.
What if the evolutionary lottery landed us with not two, but three arms, and not some clunky tool you strap on, a fully functional, biologically integrated extra limb?
And rooted right in the center of the chest.
Right in the center. It
Yeah.
sounds like pure sci-fi.
It does. But the mission for this deep dive is to really follow the source material and treat this as a serious scientific premise. If this trimanual anatomy were real, what would happen? What are the profound cascading changes that would ripple through everything?
Everything. Biology, society, technology.
Culture,
Yeah.
fashion, the works.
That is our mission today. We're going to go beyond the cool fantasy of it and really explore the necessary biological overhaul, the revolutionary advantages,
But also the costs.
but also, critically, the hidden costs, because we've synthesized the research. And what becomes really clear is that the price for all this extra efficiency, it's much higher, and the societal shift is way more disruptive than you might think at first.
It's not a simple upgrade.
Not at all. So this is your shortcut to understanding the incredibly complex implications of adding just one more limb.
And we have to start with the foundational engineering.
Yeah.
You can't just append a powerful, functional limb to the human body as it is now. For this third arm to be a real asset, it means you need a complete and, in some ways, a really radical redesign of the entire human blueprint.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The structural requirement. If this arm is smack in the middle of the chest, we immediately hit a huge challenge, right? The shoulder girdle.
That's the non-negotiable starting point, absolutely. Our current rib cage, our sternum, they're designed for stability, for protecting your heart and lungs.
Right, not for being an anchor point.
Not for an anchor point, for massive muscles that can lift and rotate and do all these complex things independently. The standard human skeleton is it's completely inadequate for that.
So what do we need? A completely new bony structure right in the midline.
Yes. The research points to a central reinforced sternum, and it would have to be radically different from the flat breastplate we have now.
How different are we talking?
Well, think of it less like a plate and more like a heavily engineered truss structure.
Yeah.
The sternum would need to be way thicker, maybe even fused with modified clavicles to create this central bony platform. And that platform's job is to host an entirely new shoulder socket.
A third side.
A third socket. A triaxial glenoid fossa is the technical term. It has to be designed to manage all the unique forces that a central limb would create.
And those forces are the key, aren't they? Because it's not just pulling.
No. It's rotating, it's stabilizing, it's resisting movements from the other two arms. That requires incredible muscular synchronization.
Yeah.
And that means you need somewhere to anchor all those new muscles.
Right, so you'd need whole new muscle groups.
Precisely. Entirely new, powerful muscle groups. Their whole job would be to stabilize that central arm against the rotational forces from the other two shoulders. You can almost picture it. A massive multi-directional muscle assembly anchored right to that new sternum.
So what would that look like on a person?
You'd probably see a profoundly modified trapezius muscle, across the back and shoulders, and much, much larger central pectorals.
So the visual implication here isn't just, oh, there's a third arm. The whole upper torso of a trimanual human would be, well, truly imposing.
Significantly broader, yes.
Yeah.
But also deeper front to back.
Right, to house all that extra muscle.
Exactly. We're talking about a much larger volume of muscle tissue just for stability and power. It would fundamentally change the human silhouette. It's a huge evolutionary leap that requires this enormous investment in just sheer physical bulk, simply to manage the physics of it all.
And once we've solved that really complex engineering puzzle of the skeleton, we realize that's just the scaffolding.
Yeah. The real performance bottleneck immediately shifts to the central processing unit.
That brain.
The brain.
Yeah.
Which brings us to neurological evolution. And this is where the challenge becomes exponentially more interesting.
The complexity of just controlling two limbs is already a marvel, right?
It is. The brain is constantly predicting, coordinating, correcting every movement. So now you introduce a third independent variable that's supposed to do its own thing.
Yeah.
That's an astronomical neurological demand.
The source material talks about a massive increase in motor cortex activity. Can you, make that a bit more accessible? What does that area of the brain do, and what does increase really mean?
Sure. So the motor cortex has what we call the motor homunculus. It's like a distorted map of your body and your brain.
Okay.
And areas that need really fine motor control, like our hands and face, they take up this disproportionately massive real estate on that map.
So a third arm would need its own huge chunk of brain real estate.
A huge, dedicated, and highly specialized territory on the cortex. So the brain isn't just, adding a new circuit. It's undergoing a major physical reorganization to dedicate massive resources to this new limb.
The cortical reorganization.
That's the term. And the ability to use that arm independently.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real trick.
You mean like chopping with the right, stirring with the center, and seasoning with the left all at once?
Yes. That kind of intense coordination, that task falls mainly to the cerebellum.
The little brain, the master coordinator. How on earth does it handle this new load?
Well, the cerebellum is what refines our motor skills,
Yeah.
maintains our balance. It doesn't start the movement, but it smooths it out, it corrects it, it synchronizes everything.
So to manage three different actions without them interfering with each other.
Without the central arm just instinctively copying what the right hand is doing, for example, the cerebellum would have to upgrade its processing capacity just exponentially.
So we're predicting a physically larger cerebellum.
Significantly larger, which might lead to a species with, inherently superior balance, better motor precision, maybe even faster reaction times than us.
That neurological complexity brings us straight back to the body's budget.
It always does.
Brains are they're ravenous energy consumers. So are big muscles. What is the metabolic cost of all this?
The energy demand is enormous. Controlling an extra limb means the body is constantly diverting energy to maintain and fuel not only that extra muscle, but the highly upgraded brain. And it's not just about when you're moving.
It's about just existing.
Exactly. Just existing.
So this means the three-armed human is sort of permanently operating at a higher energy level. They'd need a significantly higher basal metabolic rate, a BMR.
Absolutely. A sustained BMR increase means getting enough calories becomes this persistent, non-negotiable priority, day in, day out.
By how much?
Well, depending on the size and musculature of that central limb, the energy cost could easily be, say, 15 to 25% higher than our own.
Just at rest.
Just at rest.
So let's put that in perspective for everyone listening. An average person, not very active, might need 2,000 calories a day.
Right.
A tri-manual human just sitting on the couch could be burning an extra 300 to 500 calories.
And if they're active, say, a professional using all three arms, their daily requirement just skyrocket.
That has to have these radical cascading effects through human history. A society of tri-manuals would need completely different agriculture.
Oh, completely. You're talking about a civilization that has to be intensely focused on caloric surplus, on resource management. You'd see specialization in hyper-efficient farming, rapid breeding of higher-yield crops.
Maybe even entire societal structures built around just getting and distributing food.
You'd have to. The simple presence of that third arm changes the environmental pressure to find food. It could push agriculture, even migration patterns, in totally new directions. Their relationship with nutrition is it's fundamentally different from ours.
It connects biology directly to civilization.
It does.
Yeah.
And given this huge metabolic cost, the evolutionary pressure to make it all worthwhile must have been immense. So let's finally look at the payoff. The efficiency dividend.
Okay, this is where we shift from, anatomical problems to just sheer unadulterated productivity.
Right.
We're looking at the efficiency gains that would justify this massive biological investment.
And the primary advantage is simple. You're converting tasks that currently need two people, or at least awkward pauses, into seamless solo efforts.
You're eliminating the classic inefficiency of being bimanual.
Exactly.
Let's start with the kitchen. You mentioned cooking, but let's go a little deeper.
Okay, so cooking becomes this three-part symphony. Think about the hardest parts of cooking now. It's usually when you have to maintain constant heat or keep stirring something while you're trying to prep the next ingredient.
Right, you have to choose one or the other.
The tri-manual eliminates that trade-off. One hand is doing the precision task, say, filleting a delicate piece of fish. The central arm is handling the constant agitation, stirring a thick sauce, flipping things on a griddle.
And the third hand.
The third hand is simultaneously prepping in the next step, crushing spices, juicing a lemon, chopping vegetables.
That is a huge reduction in prep time and a massive increase in the complexity and quality of what you can make. All by one person.
All by one person. And what about just carrying things? Our current struggle with asymmetry.
The awkward load.
It's the ultimate solution to the awkward load. The central arm, being the most powerful and centrally balanced, becomes the anchor.
The stabilizer.
Exactly. It could effortlessly manage two big, heavy suitcases, anchored to the sternum, leaving the outer two hands completely free for precision tasks.
So, opening the door, punching in a security code, dealing with a dog leash.
And most importantly, holding that vital cup of coffee.
All while carrying the maximum load.
And you can extend that to everything. Home maintenance. Imagine changing a light fixture.
Right now you need a ladder, maybe someone to hold the fixture.
Exactly. A trimanual human uses their central arm to hold the fixture perfectly steady against the ceiling. The outer two arms are completely free to do the delicate wiring. The efficiency dividend just. It permeates every small act of daily life.
And that neurological leap we talked about, that has to fundamentally redefine how we interact with technology at high speed. Let's talk about driving.
Okay, our current model for driving forces our hands to share tasks. Steering is the main one, but then you have to shift gears, touch the screen, adjust the radio.
The central arm could take over steering completely.
Completely. It's the most stable, so it's perfect for that core task. And now your outer hands are totally liberated. They can seamlessly manage communications, climate control, navigation.
And the cognitive split is easier because the core, repetitive job is handled by that dedicated central system. That's an immediate, immense increase in safety.
And this just explodes when we look at data input. Typing.
Typing redefined. Our QWERTY keyboard is optimized for 10 fingers and 2 hands, so you'd need a whole new keyboard, a trimodal keyboard.
It becomes a necessity.
We mentioned it could double typing speed. What does that keyboard actually look like? What does the central arm do?
So the standard letter keys would probably stay for the outer hands. The central arm, positioned right over the midline, would be dedicated exclusively to modifiers, meta commands, non-alphanumeric stuff.
So like a dedicated bank of function keys or toggle switches.
Or even a force feedback trackpad or trackball integrated right there. The central arm handles all the shift, control, alt, command, all the complex formatting inputs. It's basically a permanent, ultra-fast modifier key controller.
While the outer hands never leave the home row.
Exactly. They just focus purely on speed, while the central hand handles all the complexity. And that's where the prediction of doubling typing speed comes from.
In a knowledge economy that's staggering, an evolutionary leap that accelerates the rate of information creation by 100%. It speeds up everything. Science, technology, academics.
And this level of efficiency creates what we're calling the trimanual specialist. Let's look at medicine. Surgery.
The operating room is immediately revolutionized.
Absolutely. Today, complex procedures require multiple assistants just to hold things steady. Retractors, scopes, lights. A lead surgeon is often just waiting for an assistant to adjust an angle.
But hold on, wouldn't having a central arm right there physically block the surgeon's view? Or force them to stand way back?
That's a critical point. The environment has to adapt too. Operating tables would need to be wider. Surgical teams might operate under new protocols, maybe viewing things through augmented reality or advanced scopes projected on big screens.
So the surgeon can stand back a bit, giving that central arm clearance.
Exactly. And the payoff is immense.
Yeah.
You have a single surgeon performing simultaneous actions, holding a retractor with the central hand, operating a scope with the left, and making the incision with the right, all in perfect coordination.
Just think about the reduction in procedure time, the lowered risk of error from having too many hands in the surgical field.
You could perform entirely new procedures that are currently impossible because they require a 3-point stabilization.
But the most profoundly disruptive application, like the source material suggests, is probably in the arts.
Oh, for sure. Musical innovation.
Music is constrained by our anatomy. Introduce a third limb with that level of motor control, and instruments designed over millennia are suddenly obsolete.
Or at least they require entirely new forms of composition. Take the pianist. Right now, it's a 2-voice discipline. Left hand for the foundation, right hand for the melody.
The central arm introduces independent, sustained polyphony.
Yes. The central hand could sustain a complex, shifting chord progression, a pedal point, with perfect stability, while the outer two hands perform this intricate, competing melody and counter-melody.
So a single person is playing what it currently takes two people or multi-track recording to achieve.
A density and richness of sound we can't even really imagine from a solo performer.
What about other instruments?
Imagine drummers. The central arm could manage a super complex secondary rhythm on a hi-hat or a special percussion module, while the other two hands hold down the core beat and fills. You could create polyrhythms that are mathematically possible but physically impossible for one person right now.
Or a violinist using two bows.
Yeah.
Or playing pizzicato with one hand while bowing with the other two.
It's an artistic renaissance driven purely by a change in biology.
So we've established the trimanual human is this hyper-efficient force of nature.
Right.
But now comes the critical insight. Our world is binary. It's built for two. Every piece of infrastructure, every social norm, every chair, it's all designed for two arms.
So the arrival of the trimanual human means society either adapts or it crumbles.
And if the trimanual becomes the new standard, the environment itself is the first big obstacle. You'd need radical adjustments, architecture, urban planning.
Let's start with something basic. Doors. Door handles are built for a two-handed world. Grip and pull.
A trimanual might need a three-point door mechanism, or a central lever they can operate with that stronger central arm.
Allowing the outer arms to keep managing their load. And the kitchen, that's a great example. A standard countertop is instantly obsolete.
Because it blocks the central arm.
Right. It prevents full access. Kitchens would have to evolve into these shallow C shapes or U shapes, letting the user rotate freely. Appliance placement would change. You'd see tiered vertical storage, all optimized for three distinct ranges of motion.
And what about public spaces? Crowded subways, theater seats?
Those become huge challenges. A three-armed human just takes up more rotational space.
Especially when they're active.
So urban planning would be forced to adapt. You'd probably see much wider aisles on trains and buses, redesigned seating.
Theater seats would have to be wider, maybe with triple armrests, or staggered seating to accommodate the broader shoulders.
And vehicle interiors, not just the driver's seat. Passenger seating would need new dimensions. A trimanual in the back seat. Their central arm could easily get in the way of the driver. Seatbelt design would need a total overhaul.
It's a fascinating domino effect. The size of a bathroom stall, the width of a shopping cart, everything needs a complete reevaluation.
And that leads directly to the question of presentation, the fashion industry pivot.
Right. The practical challenge is obvious. You need a third sleeve.
But the engineering of that is complex. It's not just cutting a hole. If the arm is anchored to a reinforced sternum, the opening has to be robust, comfortable.
And positioned to allow a full range of motion without ripping the fabric.
Or causing immense chafing around that sternal anchor point. The choice of textiles becomes critical. You'd need fabrics with enhanced stretch and durability right in that central area.
And then it would move from just being practical to being a cultural statement.
Of course. Designers would create clothing that showcases the limb. The central sleeve might become the focus. A different color, a unique texture, maybe even some kind of armor-like reinforcement to signal the power of that central limb.
Fashion becomes a conversation about functionality and power.
Exactly. The whole definition of fit changes. It's not about bilateral symmetry anymore. The emphasis shifts to this powerful trilateral form.
And these physical adaptations are mirrored by adaptations in our social rituals. The question of new social etiquette. That's profound.
It is.
I mean, the handshake, it's this fundamental universal human greeting,
Right.
and it's bimanual. What happens?
Well, the central arm can't be ignored, that's for sure. To keep it tucked away would be seen as a huge social slight, or maybe a sign of extreme humility.
So the interaction has to get more complex.
It has to mirror the physiology. We predicted a complex three-way handshake might develop. 2 people, 6 hands.
Describe how that would even work.
It would probably be tiered. The initial greeting might be central arm to central arm, a short, powerful grip, signifying, professional respect.
And then the outer hands.
Then the outer 2 hands would come in for a deeper connection, a clasp on the shoulder or an interlocking grip. The handshake itself would start conveying layers of information that our simple two-handed version just can't. Status, respect, intent.
That sounds incredibly stressful for a simple greeting. And the very presence of that extra limb has to create whole new forms of body language.
Oh, absolutely. If the central arm is the master coordinator, the source of fine motor control, it gains immense social gravity. Body language experts would have careers just deciphering the posture of the central arm,
For instance, holding it close to the body might signal you're nervous or defensive.
whereas resting it confidently on a desk or gesturing widely with it could convey immense authority.
We have millennia of subtle bimanual gestures. Now you have a whole new vocabulary of movement. It makes social interaction richer, but also
Denser and far more exhausting to interpret. The speed of communication goes up, but so does the potential for making a social error based on where your central limb is.
which leads us perfectly into the counterpoint. We've painted this picture of revolutionary efficiency.
But the evolutionary price tag is steep.
We have to balance the equation and look at the very serious trade-offs.
For a species that's so optimized for efficiency, the first real cost is just increased physical risk.
Right. An extra limb is an extra target for injury. Simple probability.
But the more insidious risk comes from repetitive strain. The central arm, because it's the stabilizer and the precision tool in so many tasks, steering, surgery, typing, is constantly under high demand.
Absolutely. The complexity of coordinating three arms and the reliance on that central axis. It
Yeah.
just makes it highly susceptible to stress injuries.
And we're not just talking minor strains. We're talking chronic, debilitating repetitive strain injuries, or RSI, specific to that central limb.
So if you're a knowledge worker using that trimodal keyboard all day, or a surgeon holding a heavy retractor, conditions like carpal tunnel or tendinitis in that central arm could be pervasive across the whole population.
And rehabilitation becomes a whole new specialty. An injury to your central arm doesn't just knock you back to being bimanual, it cripples the whole system.
And throws off all your coordination.
And it would demand highly complex physical therapy to reintegrate that core motor pathway back into the brain's map.
Beyond the physical toll, though, there's the most significant hidden cost, the one you can't see. The burden of mental fatigue.
The cognitive load.
Yes.
The brain is always working. Even when you're resting, the cerebellum and motor cortex are running these complex processes in the background, just maintaining the spatial map for that third limb. It creates this perpetual, low-level cognitive drain that we, bimanuals, simply do not experience.
It's like having a dozen high-demand apps running in the background on your computer that you can never, ever close.
Exactly. And this constant state of coordination and readiness creates a chronic background exhaustion. It's not just feeling tired after a long day. It's a baseline state of mental duress that's built into their very physiology.
It sounds like a recipe for constant sensory overload.
Well, you have three independent streams of motor input and output. The brain is processing 50% more kinetic data, 50% more tactile feedback, and constantly integrating all of it.
And that has to lead to some kind of psychological phenomenon.
It does. Decision paralysis.
Yeah.
In any given moment, the trimanual human has significantly more choices. Do I use the left arm for this, the right for that, or should I dedicate the central arm? Even simple tasks become these moments of low-level internal arbitration.
We already struggle with decision fatigue in our abstract lives. For them, that fatigue is built into the most mundane physical tasks. You have to constantly decide how to allocate three limbs perfectly.
And this psychological stress would demand huge societal adaptations. While they're hyperproductive, they're also chronically stressed, probably with higher rates of burnout.
You'd probably need specialized, motor restrooms.
Or sensory deprivation environments. Spaces designed to quiet the neurological demand and just let the brain stop running that constant three-limb processing program for a while.
That is the powerful irony here, isn't it? You create a species that is faster, stronger, more efficient in every single metric.
Yet is fundamentally more exhausted and stressed internally.
Because the cognitive demand is just relentless. They've achieved peak external productivity at the expense of internal, quiet, biological simplicity.
It really challenges the definition of evolutionary success. Is success just measured by output? Or is it about a sustainable quality of life? A society constantly running on overdrive, battling cognitive drain just to use its own biology. That's a profound dilemma.
So the cost of efficiency in this case is the loss of neurological ease.
This deep dive has really shown us that the idea of a three-armed human is this massive exercise in cascading causality. We went from the need for a radical skeletal structure that reinforced sternum,
The broadened torso.
all the way through the necessary upgrade of the cerebellum and the motor cortex, and then we hit the immediate reality of needing so much more food just to exist.
And the ripple effect on civilization is it's undeniable. Doubling typing speed, creating whole new fields of surgery and music, and forcing a complete redesign of our world. Wraparound kitchens, three-point door handles.
Reimagine public transport, clothing that celebrates a new kind of symmetry.
But we also identified that profound price, the high physical risk to that essential central limb and the invisible, relentless cognitive load, that chronic mental fatigue. It's just an unbelievable chain reaction, all from one single biological change.
It is.
And this whole thought experiment, it's the ultimate reminder of the subtle, silent efficiency of our current bimanual biology. Our bodies are these perfectly balanced ecosystems.
Optimized not just for peak performance, but for sustainable, manageable existence in a world with limited resources.
It really forces you to grapple with the ultimate question posed by this whole idea. Given all the trade-offs, given that relentless cognitive burden, would this new human actually be happier? More success?
Or just tremendously faster at burning themselves out.
We've given you the biological, the societal, the technological scaffolding of this new reality, and here's where it all connects back to you. If you woke up tomorrow with a fully functional, expertly anchored third arm, what is the revolutionary, unique, trimanual task that you would define your new existence by?
Something to mull over until our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us in this profound look at human potential and its hidden costs.